Just to let you know, we will be starting at 1:05 just to allow everyone to get in. So feel free if you want to grab a coffee or anything. We'll start in 3 minutes. Yes, this is the best part of working with my mom, by the way. She brings me Starbucks. All right, so today is DocuSign. So of course, DocuSign, the point of DocuSign is so that you can get your forms electronically signed. So DocuSign is where you go to get your forms, period, to fill them out if you would like to type in them. And also you can either print them and bring them on your appointment, or you can then send it for electronic signature for them to sign. Okay, so I'm gonna put my email up here and I'll put it in the chat. Just so if you guys have any questions, I am the DocuSign specialist, so I'm happy to answer those. And I'm going to show you too where a video is that when you have your next real transaction, you can follow the workflow. Okay, so before we get started, just come with me real quick to KWB resources so I can show you where the video is. So kwbresources.com, right? That's your internal site for all agent resources at KWB. And if you scroll down past the lovely headshots of our staff right here, can't miss video of the week, I leave it there because it's for this office specifically, how you get into DocuSign, connect command to DocuSign properly, access your forms. We're going to go through all of this today, but that's about 25 minutes so that when you have a transaction, you don't have to try to remember everything I said, right? You can go right here and watch it and pause it and follow along. Okay, that's exactly how I learned DocuSign, is watching YouTube videos, right? Now, I will say, if you just go to YouTube and type in DocuSign, KW has a specific DocuSign, so don't do that. However, this is the one you'll want to reference because it's specific to our market center too. So again, this is found on kwbresources.com. It's on the homepage. I just scrolled down. and it's right here next to this big red block. So it's right on the home page. Also, if you want the notes for today's class, so I did collect like everything we're going to go over into smaller 10-minute videos. So if you want notes for today's class, or any class for that matter that we teach, Tech Tuesdays here. So it's under Tech Resources and Tech Tuesday. Okay, obviously that first drop down, schedule a tech appointment, right? Schedule with us. We'll do one-on-one. But Tech Tuesday here, so you can see what's coming up as far as the topics. And then if you scroll down, this is where all the notes are. And if you want to click on the DocuSign notes, just a Word doc or Google Doc. Yeah, no problem. And this does update automatically. So for example, if they change something in the technology, I change this on my back end and you always have the most up-to-date version. So since it's a Google Doc. So, and I'll tell you again how I got here, but I would recommend coming to this after class, because you'll see I'll reference some things like how to create and send pre-filled templates, right? And it's just going to break it down into 10-minute versions of what I'm saying, so that whenever you need it, you can grab that. What do you do when you go under contract, right? Well, here's the video, the 10-minute video for what to do when you go under contract, things like that. All right. So again, where I found this is on KWB Resources, under Tech Resources. The second option is Tech Tuesday. And the notes are below the graphic, like of the calendar. So you can come down here and click on the DocuSign option. I'll reference it during class. And if you like written notes, I also have it written out. Steps 1 through 10, how to do a transaction in Command. So if you really jive with written steps instead, that's that very top section here. So I can open that up as well, just so you guys know. And this is exactly what we're going to do right now. Okay. So these are the steps that you take to start a transaction in Command with DocuSign. Okay. So first thing we do, right, is go to Command. So that is agent.kw.com, like the agent login for kw.com. We'll go ahead and log in. So whenever you are starting a transaction, okay, it is extremely important that you always start it in Command. You'll see it will connect to DocuSign, but it's extremely important that you start the transaction in Command, okay? And let's make sure that you do have DocuSign linked before we go further. So if you just want to eye over with me, it's just in the settings. If you click on your name on the top right, and then settings from that drop down. So you can click on your name on the top right of Command, and then settings to see all the different apps that are linked up to Command. I kind of like to think of it as like an iPhone or a new phone that I get, right? Out of the box, your iPhone has a lot of great capabilities, but you can link up further apps to your iPhone to increase its capabilities, right? Same concept here. Command out the box can do a lot of great things, but let's say we want to work with DocuSign, right? We want to make sure at the top of our connected apps, we see DocuSign. If you do not, because it shows all the connected ones up top. So if you don't see DocuSign at the top, scroll down to find it. You will need that to have a connected status. If you need help, just let me know. Okay, but again, how I got here was just my name on the top right of Command and settings. And it takes me right here. Okay, so DocuSign is what we're doing today. All right, so let's start with that workflow. Okay, now that you know that it's connected. Step 1, and I'm following the notes, so not to switch tabs on you, right? But these are the notes I had up in case you're following along. So we're going to add our client to the database first, okay? So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to make sure my contact is in my database. So I can do that by clicking on the contact icon on the left-hand side of Command. Right, and just a reminder that if you click the KW logo on the top left, it pans this out, which I like, so that if you're learning the navigation around Command, you know what each one of the icons means. So contacts. And then you can either search for a practice contact if you have that, if you want to do a practice contact today, or in this case, I'll click add contact. If you would like to add a practice contact, or if you have a real transaction, you can go ahead and do that. And we'll do Halloween themed. Morticia Adams. Morticia. All right, so what you need when you're adding in a contact, right, is ideally their name and their email address. Okay, for DocuSign, right, for them to electronically sign, they need an email address. Okay, so if you're doing this, if you want to put yourself in as a practice contact so you can see what it looks like when you get forms from DocuSign, I would recommend it. It won't let you add a duplicate email. So if you already have yourself in Command, just heads up, you'd have to use a different email. or you can go back and use that contact. All right, and let's say in this case, there's a spouse on the transaction, okay? I can click add relationship right here, and I could add the spouse. So command does want us to be entering in the husband and wife or whatever the situation separately, okay? So that would be, let's say Jane Smith as one contact, John Smith as a separate contact. So it does not want John and Jane Smith as one contact, okay? Or they won't be able to electronically sign. So if the spouse is already in your database, this is where I could go ahead and look him up. In this case, I don't. So I'll go ahead and add the contact here and click add. Okay, but if you have them already in your database, it would drop down with their name. So you can simply click on it and it would link that up. So what I'm doing is adding in like the spouse's name to my database. You can see that I didn't add like the email address. It doesn't give me that option here. So once I save this, I would need to go into Gomez's or the other contact's contact record to add anything further I have on him. Okay, and you can tag them. And I would recommend that whenever you're adding contacts to tag your contacts. Tagging is huge for marketing efforts, which I know this is not what this class is about, right? But if you tag that as seller or buyer, right? Or hot lead, whatever you'd like it to be, or where your lead source is. Did you get it from a Facebook ad? Did you get it from a church group, right? Whatever, wherever your lead source is, I recommend that tag, right? Or if they're a VIP in your business, that's another good one. All right, and we do go over tags, of course, much more in other classes, right? But you can tag them and click create. All right, so the next step to get into DocuSign, right? So now that I've created the contact, we need to create an opportunity, okay? An opportunity in command is the same thing as a transaction, right? It's really just as corny as it sounds. So you create an opportunity anytime that you have an opportunity for a sale, right? All right, so the opportunities tab, so I'm in the contact record, right? And I see the opportunities tab on the right-hand side. This is how I recommend looking for your transactions and also starting new ones, okay? So let's say if this client was going to buy and sell a house with me, I would come in here to opportunities and I would click on create an opportunity, and they would have an opportunity per transaction, so per home or per address that you are helping them with that transaction, okay? So for example, if they're buying the home with you and then selling, so if they're selling their home and buying the next home with you, that would be two separate transactions. It's two separate properties, okay? So two separate opportunities in that case. So when I click on create opportunity here, there's 3 fields I have to fill out, okay? And those fields are 1, opportunity type. So opportunity type, this is where we're gonna go ahead and put if it's a listing, buyer, landlord, or tenant. I'm gonna do listing, you can do either one. It'll be almost exactly the same. Just wanna show you something on a listing. So listing or buyer here. We have the client's name and we want that co-seller here as well, right? Since I listed that as a spouse, it gives me that option right here, right in the drop down. So the final thing I have to fill out, and I'll review the 3 things again, is the commission rate. So that's near the bottom in case you have to scroll. That's talking about your side of the commission. So whatever you go for, if that's 3%, if they haggle you down to 2.5, this is changeable, but always put whatever you usually charge there. So 3%. So again, 3 fields I had to fill in here are 1, opportunity type. That's what we're saying if it's a listing or buyer. 2, we're making sure that the clients are in here, right? Here are the clients. And 3, commission rate. And I can click create. And please stop me anytime if you have questions on the other fields or anything at all. Happy to answer that. All right, so I created the opportunity. All right, so the next step is we're gonna now open it in DocuSign, okay? And I'll explain why this workflow is very important to do it in these steps, and I'll review it again, but know that it is essential for you to do it in these steps when you start a transaction. So I'll click on the opportunity name to open that up. And that will open up the details of the opportunity, okay? So essentially just all the back end information about it, and all of this will autofill into DocuSign. So to get into DocuSign, okay, these next couple steps are very important. So one, documents. So we click the documents tab. Now, please do not do this yet. Do not click start a transaction, but we will do that. Okay. So this is what we're going to click. However, and that's how you link it to DocuSign. However, this one step in between is going to save you lots of time. So if specifically before you click start a transaction, if you come over and click pick checklist type and tell it, okay, what kind of transaction is this? Is this a South Carolina, North Carolina listing, sales checklist, right? It will show you all the forms that are required for that transaction. And now that I have selected the checklist first, now when I click start a transaction, it will automatically bring in all the forms that are required. So all the forms that have this DS next to it will automatically come into my DocuSign room when I click on start a transaction. So if I don't select the checklist first, then it doesn't know which forms to bring in, so that's why you have to select the checklist first, so it knows which forms are required. So now when I click start a transaction, which I'm going to do, it's going to automatically bring in every required form that you need for this transaction. Okay. If you don't do that, like if you don't click a checklist before clicking that, there's no going back. So you just have to, you can either go manually grab all the forms or start a new one if you want to use that tool. But that workflow, it really wants you to do that first, so that now when I click start a transaction, and you'll probably only have DocuSign as an option. And just a heads up, if you click start a transaction, which you're allowed to now, you can. If it doesn't pop up immediately, it's probably a pop-up blocker, especially if you have a Mac. So if you click on start a transaction and nothing comes up, right, DocuSign just automatically pops up for me, it's most likely a pop-up blocker. So check like your URL bar right here. There's normally like, if this is happening to you, like a little window with an X showing you it blocked the pop-up for DocuSign. And you just want to make sure you're always allowing that. Did your DocuSign come up? It did. Okay, good call. It shouldn't do it anymore, I don't believe. Every time? Weird. I wonder if that's like a setting change. And it's probably not even worth looking into if you can just click the button every time. Yeah, right. Normal workflow. So now as this is loading, right, you see all these forms in there? That's because I selected the checklist first. It knew. Yeah, no, please. Yep, you got it. All right, yeah, so this is where we pick checklist type and then select whatever it is. Okay. Yep, North Carolina sale. It's a different checklist. Like I'm in a listing opportunity or buyer, so it's slightly different. That's why it's kind of like.
Leah,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
hey, Leah, can you print these documents out blank from this screen, or do they auto-populate with the client's name on them?
Great question. So yes, you can print it from here, but yes, it does autofill. So what I usually do is I go in, if I'm going to just print it blank, like if it's for this transaction, right, I let it autofill and I'll go in and type it all in, and I'll show you this in a second here. But if it's like, I just want the blank form, you're right that it does autofill. So I usually go in and erase all the information. Like it's usually just the contact name and then resave it so I can print it that way. And I'll show you that.
Okay, well. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. So it looks like you already created a transaction, right, from this one, like, because it says go to transaction instead of start a transaction. So it just might not automatically bring in all those forms, which is okay. I'll show you how you can grab the forms otherwise, or you can start a new opportunity and do it in that order. All right, so first of all, let's say we don't have all the forms we need, or it didn't automatically populate because I accidentally started the room before I click the checklist. Okay, you can absolutely add more forms to your DocuSign room. Okay, and we'll take a look. This will help us know if you have access to your forms or if we need to go put in your NERDS ID. So if you click on add on the top right, I want you to pay attention to the second option down. You see that icon here, that blue form icon? That's the same icon as you see on all of these forms. That indicates it's a typable form. Like I can open it and start typing it in, okay? So that shows you right here from add that I can get more editable forms by clicking DocuSign Forms here. So just a heads up, that will bring you into all of your forms. And so this is where you might notice that you don't have all the same form folders as me. If that is the case, let me know so I can show you how to put your NERDS ID. I'd love, even if you're online, if you can let me know, because I won't show how to correct it otherwise. But do you guys, can you check? Do you see all of your forms in here? Right, check that you have these form folders on the left-hand side, because these will only populate with your NERDS ID. So if you don't have that, great, okay. All right, so if you do not have that, okay, so if you don't see all of your forms, this is what you do. And if you do have all your forms, great, good job. You can practice like searching around in your forms, checking out what's in each folder, okay, because I'm going to show the rest of the class how to get access to your forms. Okay. So if you do not have access to your forms, please join me by clicking on your name on the top, I'm sorry, your headshot or your initial in a circle on the top right, and then preferences. Can you click your name on the top right, or your headshot? Oh, this is me. Oh, you're not. So you will pop up block and see that. Then you log in. And I'll help you get your forms. Was anyone else online? Do you guys not have your forms? And do you have your forms? Okay, great. Hi, how are you? Good. All right, so just so you know, since I'm halfway there and I can always help you if needed outside of this time, but where you get access to your forms is under integrations. So I went to my headshot on the top right and preferences. And then integrations will show you if you have NAR linked up. So the National Association of Realtors, that's what you need to be linked in order to have access to all of your forms. So if you do not have that, no worries. You just click add provider to add the NAR option, the realtor option. And if anyone online needs further steps on that, let me know and I can talk you through that a little more. Great. Yes, you have all your forms. All right. So now that we confirm that we have our forms, right? Because once you do that once, it should stay like that unless there becomes an issue with your National Association of Realtors membership. You shouldn't have to re-enter that in. They just want you to keep paying forever, of course. So I'm going to go back to my DocuSign room. So if you left and followed me, you can follow by clicking on rooms on the top to go back to our DocuSign room that we've been working in. Okay, so just so you guys know the navigation to get back to your room, right? You can simply click on the rooms option to see any of the rooms that you have created. And when I say rooms, what I mean, right? DocuSign rooms, that means every time you have an online file, right? Every time all your forms are in your DocuSign room for each transaction. So that's what they call it, rooms. All right, so how we go about editing our forms or printing them out. So I'll show you now how you can edit your forms and either print it or take it or send it for electronic signature, which is of course the purpose of DocuSign. However, you might get clients that don't love technology, they don't trust electronic signatures, or you're just going on the appointment and you want to explain it in person, okay? So either way, it's totally fine. I'm going to open the exclusive right to sell. You can, if you did like the buyer agency, you can open that one. It'll be the same concept. So to edit forms in DocuSign is very intuitive, actually. It's as simple as clicking to start typing. And you will notice, right, some things autofill, right? So a lot of the information autofills back and forth. So this is autofilling from command. And let's say I don't have the property address in here right now, right? But if I added the property address here, it would autofill the property onto every other form that I have in this DocuSign room. So it does autofill back and forth, right? So as far as adding any information, you can simply click on any of the fields to start typing, right? Checking the boxes or radio dots is as simple as clicking. So a couple things. So I know one of the questions was, if I want to print out this form, right, will it always autofill? So in the case that, let's say you're going on a listing appointment with these clients, what I might recommend is type in as much of the form as possible because it looks professional. And then you can print it out, okay? However, the question I believe was more if you need a blank form, right? Because it does autofill as you're seeing. So if it does autofill, right, and you want it to be blank, in that case, you can just delete anything that autofills, okay? Or if you want to fill out the entire form first, of course, that would be your first step, filling it out and clicking save and close. Okay, so whichever way you're going on this, if you want to print out a blank form, if you want to type it up first, do that step first. Either delete the auto-filled information or type in the entire form and then click save and close on the top right. Okay, now we can print from here. From what I have seen, if I don't click save and close first, it will not save my changes on the printed sheet. So save and close first is my biggest recommendation. And then you can pull it back open. Let's make sure it didn't put those autofill people back in. It does always take that many seconds usually to open up. So I can see right now those autofill my clients disappeared. So if that was your question that you would like to print out a blank document, right? That would be your steps. Remove it, save and close. Then when you pull it back up, so this icon on the top right is your document actions. It looks like a little piece of paper with a folded like dog ear, I think it's called. Those are all your options for what you can do. So in this case, if I want to print it out, that's what I would do right from here, right? So same concept if I typed up the entire form and wanted to print it and bring it on my appointment, okay? Now, on the flip side, and let me know if you guys have any questions on how that would work, because if you know, that's totally fine. If you have them hand sign it, you can just scan it back to your computer. And I'll talk to you more about that at the end. But just know, I'm going to show you now how to do electronic signatures, but you absolutely have the option to do handwritten signatures. If you don't love technology and that's not what you want to do for your business, that is fine. A lot of agents do that. Okay, but let's say, right, it's really convenient that I don't have to drive an hour to my client's house to have them sign this one form, right? So let's say I want to send it for electronic signature. First step would be to go in and fill out the entire form, right? So you can see that clicking on any of the fields will allow you to start typing, right? Main thing to tell you guys is the initial boxes are not here at this point. So if you use dot loop in the past, that might alarm you, but that's normal. So all we're doing right now is we're opening the form and typing to fill it out, okay? And then we're going to click save and close on the top. Okay. So again, first step was I open the form and I type in it to edit it. So in this section here, right, in the documents tab, that's where we accessed our forms and we typed in it to edit it. Well, now I want to send it. Okay. So let's say I want to send the exclusive right to sell and the working with real estate agents at the same time. Keep in mind, the first step I wanted to do was open each form that I'm sending and edit it first. Okay. Then, now step 2, to send it to your clients, I'm going to click the check boxes on the top left of each form I want to send, okay? Now notice when I unclick the checkbox, there's a little menu that's gonna appear out of nowhere when I click it, and that's the one I need, okay? So just so you guys aren't looking for this print or getting electronically signed, right? This doesn't show up until you check the boxes, okay? Which I think is a little sneaky. So just so you guys know, check the boxes first and it gives you bulk actions, right? So essentially all these icons, and you can see if I hover my mouse over it, it tells me what the icon does. But essentially all of these icons up here will apply a bulk action of any of the things we saw in that drop down for the one form. So if you need to print multiple forms, you check the check boxes and then select the print icon at the top, right? So if I wanted to print that out, I absolutely could print out multiple forms. In this case though, I want to send for electronic signature. So that's the pen icon. You'll see this a bunch in DocuSign. Okay, that DocuSign icon, that means electronic signatures or creating an envelope, and I'll explain that term. So go ahead and click on that. So the pen icon. And when it does, it's going to pull your forms in an envelope, is what it calls it. And I like to channel snail mail to think of that. Okay, so if I got an envelope, right, the first thing I would do is put my clients on it. Okay, so who needs to receive this form to sign? I do. It's a exclusive right to sell. So that's a form I need to sign as the agent and my clients. So it's asking you which clients need to sign, right? So if it's not a form that you sign, don't add yourself, okay? The offer, you would not add yourself in this case. All right, and this typically takes, again, a few seconds here to load. So nothing's wrong with your computer if it does this. So we are selecting which clients need to sign, and it's going to pull that over from command, which is why it takes a second. is it's pulling that data from command, okay? So all we're gonna do in this next step is determine, okay, what order do my clients receive it to sign? And we can send it, okay? So we did a bulk of the hard work of editing it. Now it's just the steps to send it. Okay, so again, they call this an envelope, right? So creating an envelope. So channeling snail mail, first thing I did was I added the documents at the top, right? So those are the documents that I'll be sending. I could add like more documents if I would like to. But what I really want you guys to pay attention to is the recipients, okay? Didn't come over, probably because I deleted them. So what you're seeing here is the recipients in the order that they will receive it. So this is actually really important for you guys more to know. So you see the 1, 2, and 3 to the left of each one of these contacts. What that is saying is that when you press send, it will send it to person marked with a 1 first. Once they do their part, which in this case is signing, then it will send it to person 2. Once they do their part of signing, then it will send it to person 3. Why that's important for you to know is that if you are telling your clients, hey, I just sent the form over and the husband hasn't gotten it because the wife hasn't signed yet, they're going to be confused. So it's really for how you're explaining it. We can make that all go away by just unchecking set signing order. So see that if I uncheck that, it just takes away the 1, 2, and 3. It doesn't, like, practicality wise, it doesn't really matter. It really just matters how you explain it to your clients, right? And there are some uses for it going in a certain order, especially if you're trying to send the signed form to your mortgage provider automatically or your admin. There are uses for it. However, my recommendation is just uncheck it. But if you forget, it's not the end of the world. Just make sure that, you know, you're telling your clients that you didn't just send it over to all of them. You guys have questions on that? I know that's a little bit of a confusing part. Does that make sense? Good question. That's why I like this. So let's say, so the question was for those of you online, if you did have a mortgage provider, and so let's say I want it, especially for the offer, right? Let's say after the offer is totally signed, I want the mortgage provider to receive that automatically. So this is what this would do. If you wanted to do this, and this is a little next level. So I do have a video on this specifically, and I'm happy to help you further with it. But what you can do is you can click on add recipients on the bottom. So I'm adding a 4th person. This case, right? So let's say I'm sending it to Simon Breas, right? I don't know. Okay, so what I want him to do is I don't want him to sign it, right? Like you said. So in that case, I'm going to change needs to sign, and this is important, to receives a copy. So this is important, the difference between receives a copy and needs to view. Okay, we want to do receives a copy, okay, because, and I'll explain this further, when you get a signed form each time, and I'll tell you exactly how signed forms work, but what would happen if you sent it like this, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, you get a notification as the agent each time that someone signs. So let's say that Morticia Adams, she signs, you get an email as the agent letting you know, hey, Morticia has signed. You'll see a PDF with just her signature on the bottom. But if you go to DocuSign into your room here, you will not see that signed form until all parties have signed, okay? So signed copy, and I'll show you an example of this in just a second. It's important for this section because we just want our mortgage provider to receive a copy. If you put it as needs to view, it'll make it so that person number 4 has to view it before the signed copy comes back to everyone, right? Yeah, because all parties have to do their part before the signed form truly comes back. You get to see it as the agent in notifications. The signed form won't go to everyone until all parties have done their part, unless it's receives a copy, because then they're just getting it, right? But if it's needs to view, that would require they view it before it sends a copy. And that might be good for, like, I don't know, if you have a younger couple that's buying a house and they want their parents to always view the documents too. Maybe that might be a good time. Great question. Does that make sense? Okay. Any further questions on that? Let me know. So there's nothing else we have to do here, right? So basically your biggest decision on this page is to check or uncheck the box, okay? If you're not sure, just uncheck it. Then you can write a message. You don't have to. It automatically puts a message or instructing them to sign. But let's say you guys talked on the phone about the residential property disclosure, like the personal property moving over, let's just say, and you want to reference it in the email, you could right here, okay? But really, all I have to do is make sure I have the people that are signing and I click next. Okay, and we're on the home stretch because the last page, we really just review our work, okay? So what you're looking at here is when all the initial and signature boxes do actually display because we told the system who's signing, right? But you'll notice that each one are different colors, and that's important for you to visually check over everything. So you'll see like the individual agent and seller clients have different colored boxes, which correlate to the dots on the top left. So if I click the drop down the top left, I can see exactly which fields, or which color each client correlates to. So I can see exactly which fields they're able to sign. I can see on the right-hand side too quickly, like with these thumbnails, that, okay, it shows all of these colors, meaning each client can sign each one of these pages, right? So really all I'm doing on this page is checking over my work so I can sleep at night. I like to click preview and then you can view it as the client. So again, this is an optional step, but if you click on preview on the top right, and then you could view it as, let's say, client one, especially if they're a bit of a pain, and you can make sure that they can do it before you send it to them, right? So I can click on start. It'll bring me down to the first field that this client needs to sign. And it shows me what it looks like when they go through and sign the entire thing. It's not actually signing it, of course, but this is exactly what it looks like when they go and sign. So like if they call you and they're like, I just can't, you would be able to go through it with them, right? And then you can press send, right? So that's the final step. Oh, I X'd out of that. Sorry, I skipped that kind of fast. But right, I previewed it and I X'd out of the preview and then you can press send. But it's really just checking over your work at this point. Questions? Okay. So I'm going to tell you now how signed forms work. And then I will show you how to add your signed forms to command so you can get paid when you go under contract, and then we'll be wrapping up. But those two things are pretty important if you can stick around for that. Mhm. 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 Great question. So up to you on that. You do not have to. So the question was, if you get them to hand sign it, so if you bring the forms, they hand sign it. And I'm going to show you this next part, which was referenced. If you put the signed copy in command, so you can get paid. Do you need to put it in DocuSign as well, is the question, if it's already been hand signed? The answer is no, you don't have to. Now, if that's your organization, is that you want, for, was it 7 years, you have to keep all your documents and you want them all to be in this DocuSign room? Okay, then put it in there. But if instead you wanted to, let's say, have files on your computer or in Google Drive for all of those, that would be an option too. Just in that case, you wouldn't need to put it in here. It's really just for your records. Where are you going to store all the forms for the transaction? I mean, it's halfway there. So this would be a good spot for it, Mhm. Another great question. I can show you how this is done. So you can edit PDFs. So what you're saying is, for those of you online, if you had it like fully signed, let's say, and you uploaded it in here, so it's a PDF, right? You can then add text boxes. So like you could either do an addendum, right, if you want to make a change to the offer, or you could add the PDF in here, and I can show you how you can add strike throughs to strike through, let's say if you misspelled their name or something, and then you can add initial boxes for them to change or sign the change. Um, yes, you're exactly right. But yes, that is kind of important though for me to go over. So I will go over that real quick. You guys would like to see it. So this is something that you will run into. Let me see it. I'm going to grab a PDF so I can show you what I mean. Okay, so the difference, right, between a PDF and an interactive form in DocuSign. What's that? So in DocuSign, so far we've been working on all of our interactive forms, right? So those are forms that I can just click on to start typing. However, I'm stuck forever on this. Why? Yeah. Okay. Sorry, guys. guys. Start. Why? Like, what doesn't it want? Oh my gosh, it so is. We're here, guys. We're here. Okay. All right. So now this is something that you will use quite a bit. All right. So if the agent on the other side doesn't use DocuSign, let's say, or so if they're representing the buyer and you're representing the seller and they send you the offer signed by their buyer, right? So now I have in my email an attachment, that's a PDF, right? Signed by one party. And now I want my clients who decided to go to Disney World in the middle of a transaction to sign it, right? Electronically sign it. So what I would do in this case is click add on the top right. And if I lost anyone, I'm just in the documents tab. I probably did lose some people because I jumped around. So documents tab right here, just so you know where I am. In DocuSign specifically, actions. And then so far we've worked on this, see this icon right here, that's the interactive form. But if I select computer, right, I can pull in a PDF from my computer. So what I'll do, so in this case, right, let's say you save the offer to purchase on your computer, signed by their clients, right? And now I need to add boxes for my client to sign. So I can see right off the bat, this is different. See, the icon is different than this, right? And then when I show you sign forms, it'll be a green icon that says signed. Okay, those are the three icons you'll see in DocuSign. And that does matter. So when I open it, right, you'll notice I can't just click to start typing, right? And this is how sign forms come back in DocuSign as well, just a heads up. So it'll always come back as a PDF, right? So it preserves their signatures. But if I want to make changes to it, so the question was, if I need to make an edit to that or add signature boxes, how would I do that? Okay. So I need to pull it into an envelope. So I cannot edit PDFs right here, right? Because this is a section I told you, you click on any of these and you can just start editing the form. However, for PDF specifically or signed forms, you would have to bring it into an envelope in order to add initial boxes or, you know, a text box or anything additional. So again, I check the checkbox for the PDF and I click on create envelope. All right, so this is where I'm going ahead and adding whichever clients would apply to this form that they would need to sign. All right, so this is the same process right here. It's when I click to go to the next page that will really actually do our work, because that's when we can add fields. And this is really cool. I mean, most software systems can't edit PDFs like Adobe can, but it also costs hundreds. So it's very cool that DocuSign allows this to happen. So again, right, I'm not really doing anything that I didn't do on the last one. I'm just going to click on next. I'll probably make hold on. I need to add it so I can show you guys the different boxes. All right, good enough. So typically, right, all the recipient information pulls over. I just deleted it because I was trying to show you guys how to print a blank form as well. That's why mine keep disappearing, because I deleted them from the form. Okay, but this is where you guys need to know things. So this is where actually add the text boxes now. Oh my gosh, that's cool. Wow, did I pick the right one? Did you? Okay, wait. I need to make sure, because this might be a new feature. If so, they made your life super. Oh no, sorry, I got you excited for that. That was the interactive one. Yeah, I thought that might be the case. Wow, they're really high tech. Seriously, there's a hole in the market for technology. Right, so you can see the other one we were just looking at was like the original form we were editing, right, which had all the fields I could just start typing in. Since it's a PDF, it does not. So let's say I have his name spelled incorrectly. Let's imagine that, like, I don't know, their name's right here. I spelled it wrong. I need to change that. Let's start with how to make a change on a PDF, and then I'll show you how to add like initial and signature boxes. All right, so let's say their name's here, or I spelled Keller Williams wrong. So like you mentioned, on the top left here, right, the different colors correlates to your different clients. So if I select blue, let's say this second client, see how it turns all these fields that color, right? So if I select the other client. So what that means, if I were to add a text field in purple, it would make that client fill it out, okay? So if you add anything in their color, it will make them sign it before they can continue. So if it's something that you as the agent need to fill out, this is the only time you really ever go to this little toolbar on the left-hand side. The very bottom one is a pencil icon, and it has gray options for you as the agent. So it won't make them do anything, okay? So in this case, I would want to strike through. So let's say I made a mistake. It's a signed document. If I want to strike that through, right, I could click the line option to cross out whatever I made an error on. Or let's say the settlement date is moving. Of course, amendments will work as well, but this is a way you can edit it directly on the form. So then in that case, let's say I cross that out and I want to add the text for what's actually true. Remember, adding it specifically from here with it being gray means it's only you that can fill it out. Like, it will not make your clients fill that out, which is generally what you want. Of course, if it's something like the property disclosure and you don't know the answer, right? You could lay a purple box and it would make them fill that out. All right, so what I did so far is I striked it through, and of course that is not correct, so don't put KW Ballantyne on your listing agreements, right? But just an example of how you can fix something. But then of course, if it is a fully signed document, you have to get those changes signed, right? So at that point, I would need to add initial boxes on the left-hand side for my clients to sign. Okay, so again, I made all changes as the agent in the pre-fill tool. Like, that's what this icon does. And that's when we use that, okay? All our clients fields are in that top icon right here for standard fields. Okay. So now that I need my client to initial this change, I'm gonna go ahead and grab this initial box. So I just clicked on it and I can click to drop it. I also need my other client to sign it. Okay, so now when I send this to my clients, I see the edit and then they can sign that as well. Does that make sense? Okay, so like how you could add it, let's say for the example, so that's how you could make a change. But let's say, I mean, it'll be the same concept, but in the situation that, imagine this is the offer to purchase and it's signed by the buyers and now you need your sellers to sign, okay, but they went on vacation, right? So you could add their initial boxes all the way down each page, but we do need it to be the different colors. So I can show you a quick shortcut to expedite that as well. So the first time I want to lay both initial boxes. So, and if I lay it and it's like, randomly up here, if I simply click on it, it turns it blue, showing it's selected so I can move it anywhere. And I could also delete it if you accidentally added one. So let's say I'm going to add both clients, right? So I need to switch the color field of the client on the top left so I can add the other initial box and get them where I want it. Okay, so obviously what the offer is, how many pages these days? 15, 16, something crazy like that. So that would take a long time to do that one at a time for each page. So in case you want a workaround, this is kind of next level, so don't feel like you have to do this. I could copy and paste these all the way down. So I can do that by, I need to highlight both of them. So if I click and hold my mouse and draw like a square around them, it highlights both of them like that. Okay, and then I can, on my keyboard, click Control C. If you have a Mac, it's Command C, right? So Control C as in copy on your Mac. Unless you have a Mac, that's Command C. And then I can scroll down to where I want it next. Click on the general area that you want it to paste in, and then click Control V as in Victor. Okay, and then you can move it around. Like if it pastes randomly here, no worries, just pull it down. Okay, so again, what those steps are that I did is first I need to highlight any of the fields I want to copy. I will do Control C or Command C, C as in copy, go to the next place I want to drop it, and then Control V as in Victor to paste it. And then you can paste it all the way down. So you would need to add like initial fields and signature fields if it's a PDF that they're signing. Otherwise, if it's an interactive form, one of the forms we just had to type in, that's when the initial boxes and signature fields automatically display. So you'd only have to do this in the situation of a PDF, which will happen. So it's good for you guys to know. I believe I do have on the DocuSign class, just so you guys know, I do have steps on editing a PDF to be signed, just so you guys know, and I'll tell you how we got to these notes again. But you know, if you go to do it, this is a 10-minute video on how to do that. Okay. So to show you real quick now, and of course, drop any questions that you guys have on how that would be done. I'm going to show you how it works when the signed form comes back. All right, so again, when a form is sent for signatures, okay, it will, so if it's a form that you need to sign, how do you receive the form to sign, okay? So once I click send, it takes me to the envelopes tab. So far we've done most everything in the documents tab, right? That's where we access our documents, type in them to edit it. But the envelopes tab is the other main place we go, and that will show you anytime that you sent one or a group of forms for signature, and it will also A, allow you to sign it, and B, if you haven't gotten the form back, it shows you like where it's being caught up. So for example, if I click on the first one, right, and I didn't share, like, this is my other email address and my account's under, but just so you guys know, it would allow you to sign from here. So as the agent, you'll receive an email to sign it, or you'll have a button here that says sign now. It just doesn't give me that option because I use a different email that my account's under, but that's unique to me. So you can sign from here, okay? And I can also see, so a couple things here. So let's say I haven't gotten the form signed, right? Because you get a notification and email every time that one person signs. So let's say you got an email that Morticia, seller 1 signed, but seller 2 has not, right? You could come in here and see where everything is. So you could see, it would tell you if they already signed or not, okay? And then so let's say that party 1 and 2 have signed, right? We still can't get the fully signed form back until seller 2 signed. So then you can click resend, and it will only send it to the parties that have not yet signed. Okay, that is important to know. And so how I got in here, just so you guys know, and why I go in here. So in the envelopes tab, right, it's showing you each time that one or a group of forms were sent out, right? I can simply click on it if it's a form I need to sign. I can see, did I send it in the 1, 2, 3 signing order, or did I send it all in ones, right? So you can remember what you did. And 2, you can resend it at the top, and it only resends it to the parties that have not signed, so you can get the signed form back. So that's very important. Okay, so let me show you what a signed form looks like when you get it back. If you have one in a room, you can go reference it, but I'll show you on my screen here. Because it does have a green forms icon. So see how this has the green forms icon? That will randomly pop into your room. Okay, so like, for example, see how I have this one right here, the exclusive right to sell, right, with the blue form icon. This is the original copy. That's the original copy that's editable, that I can just open up and start typing it, okay? When it comes back signed, it will always come back as a separate copy of the form. So you'll always have the original form, and then the signed form as a copy, and this will be a PDF, okay? So just like we were dealing with a second ago, if I click on this, it shows as signed, it will not be editable to me because it's preserving their signatures, okay? Just let me know if you have questions on that. Right, so your signed forms will come back to your DocuSign room, and they will not come back though until all parties have signed, okay? Which brings us to the final topic of today's class. Okay, what do you do with your forms once they're signed so you can get paid? Okay, this will be the final thing we go over. So in order to get paid, the Market Center checks your files for compliance, right? So you need to make sure you're adding all of your signed forms to your opportunity in command. That's where they check it, okay? So if you'd like to follow me, I'm going to go into the opportunities section. So I'm switching to KW command now, okay? And I'll explain the difference between KW command and DocuSign. Because for me, when I started with this, okay, there's a documents tab in command, but there's also a documents tab in DocuSign. Why? And that is very confusing, right? So the difference, okay, this will really help. The difference between the two, the DocuSign documents tab. This is used for you, between you as the agent and your client. DocuSign is used to grab your form, edit, and get it electronically signed, okay? So again, DocuSign is used between you as the agent and your clients to get forms signed. Once they are signed, that's when the command opportunity comes in the documents tab, and I'll tell you how I got here if I lost anyone. And this is used between you and as the agent and the Market Center to add your signed forms so you get paid, okay? So DocuSign used by the agent and the client together. Once it comes back signed, that's when we come over to Command, the Documents tab, to add our signed forms here, so they'll release your commission check. Okay, so how you get your commission check is adding your signed form. So how that's done is, in case I lost anyone, I am back in Command. So you should still have that tab open. It would have a KW logo on the top. And if you lost this opportunity, the screen at all, it's a good opportunity for you to learn how to get back to your transactions, your opportunities. So just in case you lost that, back end where I am totally, how you find any of your opportunities, right, your transactions, is I would really always recommend going into the contacts section, search that contact that you're working with, and then you'll always be able to see on the right-hand side. I see agents all the time, they forgot they had created one, so they end up having like 14 different ones for the same transaction. So this shows you, okay, I already created that opportunity, and this is where you can go to access it. All right, so if I lost anyone, if you want to catch up by going into your opportunity, simply click on the name. And then the Documents tab here, how we add our forms to get paid. So this is important because you can't get paid without this knowledge. Okay, so I see on the left-hand side, and if you selected a buyer opportunity instead, these folder names on the left-hand side will be different. The first one I think is consultation. So click on under contract so you can just kind of see, especially for buyers, because there's not much in the first one. All right, what this is showing you is all the forms that you need to be in compliance. So the first thing I usually do is see the requirement column, right? I like to sort that so all the required fields are at the top. So if I click on requirement, it'll put the required fields at the top. And then there's conditional fields under that, which means like things like the lead-based paint, if it's built before 78, then right, is that the right date? I don't practice real estate, so I learned that like 10 years. So thanks for that. Anyway, right, things like that, lead-based paint, that would be conditional for the property. Like if it's on a floodplain, right? So those aren't things necessarily you need for every transaction, but you would be able to add that if it applies. So all the required forms are at the top right now because I clicked on requirement. And then since I created this, right, I click go to transaction on the top there. Since it's linked to DocuSign, I can simply click on select and it'll bring up any signed forms or PDFs in that room. So it probably won't show you anything if you don't have anything in that DocuSign room. But once the forms come back signed or you add a PDF, I could go ahead and click on that and it pulls it right over from DocuSign, okay? So really all we're doing is picking the name of the document and it pulls it over to line it up. Now, if you did get it hand signed, okay? So you can see that it's automatically attaching files from DocuSign. It will default to this right here if you connect your opportunity to DocuSign like we did today, okay? If I just want to scan it to my computer and pull it in that way, that's totally fine. So remember, you can get all of your forms hand signed and scan them back to your opportunity here. So DocuSign, my computer. Sorry, I just switched that drop down. And so now you can see you can just grab those signed forms from your computer. So that's totally fine too, depending on how you want to do things. And then too, it centralizes all your forms here as well. So you might really not need to add it to DocuSign, as an extra step, but up to you. So we would want to do this so if it's your listing, okay, the last thing I need you guys to know is when you're submitting to the Market Center for review, because the Market Center doesn't just go look for your opportunities. You would have to submit it to them when you're ready, okay? Okay, well, when am I ready, right? That's a good next question. If you're representing the listing, okay, or the seller, you would click submit to MC. So you would send it to the Market Center for review once after it goes live in the MLS. So each one of these folders, once when it goes under contract and once when it closes, okay, with all the appropriate paperwork. If you're representing the buyer, you would click submit to MC on the top right here, once when you go under contract and once when you close. Okay, and so I want you to mentally just know in your head, okay, when I go under contract, especially if you're focused heavy on buyers right out the gate, when I go under contract, that's when I need to submit this to the Market Center for review. At that point, right, that's when I have that little video, and I'll show you again how we got here, that you can manage a transaction that goes under contract. So you can watch my 10-minute video, do that, and then you'll be able to collect your commission check without delay when it does close. So I'll show you guys how I got to these notes here again. Can I answer any questions on that? Because I know that it's kind of confusing, especially if you haven't gone through those steps yet. And it's kind of one of those things I more want you to know exists, the compliance, so that when you get to that phase, you know where to come watch this video, or you can meet with me and I can help you with it. But to show you where I got this notes right here, right? Again, that's kwbresources.com. So KWB resources. I hover over tech resources on the top. If you want to schedule a one-on-one, I'm happy to go over any of this with you in person. But if you just want the notes from today's class, so tech resources and then Tech Tuesday. The notes for today's class, if you scroll down, is the DocuSign one. And that'll give you like all the 10-minute videos per topic that we were talking about that I have here. All right, I will be sticking around. If you guys have questions, feel free to let me know. And I'm happy to show you guys anything to do with the KW technology. Other than that, that is the bulk of it. And just remember, when you go through a transaction, you know, on KWB resources on the homepage is a 25-minute video of me explaining this, right? So you can pause it and follow along from the homepage here, this video. Right, can't miss video of the week. It's always there every week, apparently. That would just be DocuSign walking you through that. Oh, thank you, Savannah.
Thanks,
All right.
Leah.
Oh, yeah, my pleasure. Let me know if you guys have questions. Come meet with me. Happy to help.
Will do. Have a good day. Happy
You too.
Halloween.
Hey, happy Halloween. Woo. Eat lots of candy. Of course. Yeah, I know that's a lot. But let me know as you have questions, right? I more want you to know that these resources exist so that if you have questions, you know, you can meet with me or go watch this video, because I do know it's a lot. It's impossible to shove all this in your head. Yes, that's